Holy smokes, I am late in getting this out, but today's video, I'm going to show you everything that's going on with Surrey real estate market. So you can make good decisions when it comes time to either buy or sell your real estate, or if you're just curious about what's going on in the market. So with that being said, let's jump into it right now.
Chance to buy or sell your next home. Let's get it right.
Got to do the intro for you, right? So let's show you a little bit about what is happening with Surrey real estate. So here's the scoop, you guys. The market has been obviously incredibly interesting. It's been one of the slower times that I've ever really participated in the real estate market. I want to give you a little bit of an idea of what that means. The most recent Fraser Valley statistics package just came out, and I'm going to be reading this. You can't see this on the screen right now, but it says home buyers in the Fraser Valley are enjoying a selection of homes that has not been seen in more than a decade. Okay, that means over 10,000 active listings available right now. To give you an idea, back of when the market was like absolutely bananas during like the COVID era and that sort of thing, we were seeing the inventory levels in around 3,000 homes for sale. And now we're at 10,000 homes, almost triple that. The Fraser Valley Real Estate Board processed about 1,043 sales last month. That's North Delta all the way to Abbotsford, basically. But that is down 29% year over year. 29% down year over year. Now, last year was not a banner year. Last year was not a great year. In fact, we are in and around, not exactly, but in and around about 50% below the 10-year average just generally for sales. So that's not to say things aren't selling, but certainly for this time of year, the market is very, very slow. And I bet you can guess why. We'll touch on that towards the end of the video here. The sales to active ratio is at about 10% right now for all products across the entire city of Surrey. So to put that into perspective, usually anywhere between about 15 to 20%. That means about 15 to 20% of the inventory coming to the market each and every month actually is selling. That's a balanced market. We're at 10%. So that is well into buyer's market territory. So now that you know that, what is going on? Well, let's show you a little bit about that. So here's the condominium market. The condominium market did improve ever so slightly month over month. So the sales to active ratio went up from about 11 and change to about 13%. So still well into a buyer's market. Now, the story behind this is certainly dependent on where in Surrey we're talking about. Surrey is obviously a big municipality, but to give you an idea, South Surrey White Rock, which is usually a pretty in-demand community, their condominium market is performing much, much better than this. Whereas you look at the condominium market in Wally or Central City, this number is scary about how far it is into a buyer's market. And the amount of inventory that's available in that market right now is absolutely staggering. In the North Surrey area, which is like Guildford and Central City or the Wally neighborhood and anything kind of north of 88th Avenue, last time I checked, there was about 850 or so active condominium listings available in the market, and the Wally market had about 750 of those. So just imagine the competition out there right now and the impact that's really having on prices. So this is the Surrey market as a whole. So that's condominiums that we're chatting about right now. What has the impact been on prices? Well, prices, according to the benchmark or the the benchmark pricing of what's going on for the community as a whole, it did go down month over month. So month over month, it's down about $45,000 or 4,500. And in the last year, it's down about $27,000. So anybody that's kind of been waiting to buy a condominium and whatnot, if you've been waiting over the last year, well, you've done okay with that. Now, who does this market favor? Well, this is certainly an advantage to the buyer, a market condition just like this. So what does that mean? Well, you always got to be careful on timing the market. And I'm going to tell you why in a moment, but there's really, really good opportunity out there for a buyer right now. Look, everything's on sale. There's lots to look at, lots to choose from, all that sort of stuff. While you're making these considerations on whether now is the time for you or not, you're going to want to consider your monthly rent as well. Even if the market is down about $27,000, I want you to think on, if you are renting, what you might have spent on rent over the course of the last 12 months. Where the opportunity is really sitting here for buyers is, and maybe it's not today, but new construction is stalled. A lot of these new projects that are due to be coming to the market, since we've got previous construction that is struggling to sell, a lot of new construction projects haven't broken ground, or they're not continuing moving forward with them at this particular point, which means 2 to 3 years from now, the new construction market is going to be gone. There's not going to be anything there, or very, very little product. Now, fast forward, if GST ends up being removed on new construction properties and there's no GST GST and no PS or property transfer tax rather, because of what's going on in British Columbia for a long time. With new construction, you don't have to pay property transfer tax up to a certain amount. You have no taxes on brand new properties. So you're going to want to pay attention to the condo market if you've been sitting on the fence thinking of buying. And I'm not saying necessarily today is the time, but you're going to want to keep your eye on it because it's not going to last forever, right? These markets always change. They're always cyclical, all that sort of stuff. If you're thinking of selling or if you are for sale, my gosh, your pricing matters. And depending on what area you're in, be nice to your real estate professional if you're watching this, because some of the neighborhoods for selling condominiums are incredibly difficult right now. Let's talk a little bit about townhomes. So where are townhomes right now? Well, our sales to active ratio is just under that magic balanced market number, where we're at about 14.8% sales to active ratio. So the impact on prices and whatnot, they're relatively flat. In fact, actually, they have gone up ever so slightly month over month. Now, I do find that this graph, what's happened with pricing, sometimes trails the sales to active ratio and what really should be happening in the market a little bit behind. So maybe about 2 to 3 months behind. But the benchmark prices is telling us at this point that prices did go up ever so slightly month over month, but only by about $500. So nothing to get too excited about. Year over year, it's down about 28,000. So who does this benefit? Again, this is advantage buyers. So what's going on? Why are buyers advantaged in this market? Well, they're slightly advantaged. The market is in favor of buyers right now. But it is a balanced market. So, should you be holding off sort of thing to be buying something or whatnot? Well, you just saw month over month, it's up, roughly about $500. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to last that long. And to really start seeing some of these bigger price discounts, you have to be much further below that balanced market condition quite typically. I want to pay attention to this as well. This is the market to pay attention to. If that makes sense. But the market, the townhome market, I want you to think about it as a missing middle, right? This is the market that's still relatively affordable and gives the space to young families or the millennials who are really buying a lot of these homes right now. So this market is likely going to outperform both the condo market and the detached market for the foreseeable future. Detached is too expensive for a lot of people to get into. Those are people that already own properties trying to get into those. And the condominiums oftentimes just don't give the space that people need, right? They're all 1 and 2 bedroom, and anybody that's got more than 1 kid, it's just not going to work for space like that. So I do think this is a market you want to pay attention to. There is some good opportunity and lots of options out there to buy right now, and this is probably going to be the market that's going to be in demand for quite some time. Let's jump over to detached homes here. So detached homes, boy, this is an ugly looking graph for detached homes in the city of Surrey. So right now you can see that they are at an 8% sales to active ratio, guys. That's like 1 out of every 12 detached homes that are coming to the market are selling right now, which means that is a phenomenal opportunity for buyers and very, very difficult for sellers. The competition is very, very intense. That is starting to have an impact on pricing. You can see that we've actually been living in that market for quite some time, and that's showing up in our active benchmark pricing and what's happening. So it has gone down month over month, as you can see. In fact, it is down about $7,100 month over month, according to the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. And in the last year, it's down about 28,000. Now, that's not a huge number. That's year over year. A couple percentage points can really show that. So it is down about 28,000 year over year, though. So something that's kind of interesting. And again, we're advantage buyers. So there is a ton of inventory to choose from. This is a great time to be a buyer, not such a great time to be a seller. There is all the opportunity in the world to see every single house that you want to see out there. And it doesn't mean that the good ones don't sell fast or the well-priced ones still don't sell fast. That happens in every single market, but you certainly got the pick of the litter right now in most communities. Pricing right as a seller really, really matters. This is something that you've got to get right. Otherwise, you are going to sit on the market. In fact, a lot of the realtors around the office, a lot of the more successful ones, we've all been talking about the simple fact that oftentimes when you're pricing homes right now and you kind of think you're priced where they should be, you're probably off. They need to be a little bit better typically to actually get the action and get the offers in right now because of how challenged the market is. 8% is no joke. 1 out of 12, that's a very, very difficult market to sell a house in. And I do believe that prices are going to remain challenged for quite some time here. There's a few factors to that. One being, where the prices ended up. Another being mortgage rates. But of course, another one is, I'm sure you can really guess it, some of these market drivers that we got going on here. So let's talk about those. Well, mortgage rates. We've had many mortgage rate improvements over the last short while, or over the last few months, I guess it's better said. There is another rate announcement coming up in early June. So pay attention to that. You never really know until that actually happens, because everyone's got an opinion of what's going to happen with it, right? Economic shifts. So the biggest one that we're dealing with right now is obviously tariffs and just the topsy-turvy policies coming out of the United States, which is making a lot of people quite fearful right now. Fearful on should they buy a house right now, because, would you buy today if you were pretty convinced it would be cheaper tomorrow? You probably wouldn't, right? So we never know with the current administration down there what's going to happen. So that's got a lot of people a little bit fearful about what job security might look like and all that sort of stuff. So certainly that's something we're going to want to continue to pay attention to. We know the demand is there. I think the first two things I discussed with mortgage rates and the United States and whatnot is kind of overshadowing that, as it has been doing for quite some time. We're in the busy spring market right now. So, again, the market's not dead. Properties are transacting. It's just far slower than it typically is for this time of year. And the local policy changes, they've been pretty quiet. They did a lot of work last year, and I think they're seeing some of the fruits of that work, but I also think they're seeing some of the detriments of that work. As an example, if you jump to some other videos on our YouTube channel, you'll know that our premier was speaking to a group of realtors not so long ago, and trying to bring investors back to the rental market, which is something that they were against, and villainizing those same investors for a long, long time, whether it was for public policy points or whatever that might be. But now they're looking for ways to bring them back, because they need them, because that new construction is stalling because there's no investment going on. So anyways, that's the market drivers. But certainly, if you have any questions about what's going on in your own little neck of the woods, don't forget there's niche markets out there. Meaning, if you live in a detached home, you live in a detached home that is a specific size, on a specific lot, on a specific street, in a specific neighborhood. So it's always different for individual properties depending on what you've got and where it is and all that sort of stuff. So always feel free to reach out. Give this video a like if you like getting these updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one next month. And sorry for getting this out so late. Okay, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.